Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, future NBA champion Friday night, and you can't teach that. This right here is G Money Grant Mitchell. He is one half of the Ride the Line podcast. He is the biggest Celtics hater in the world, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. Welcome into Ride the Line, Grant. Welcome in. You could have been a champion with us. You could have said, I'm going to be a champion, but you'd say you don't want to be a champion. That's what you said.
You know what? What I should have done is I should have been an exacta better. I should have bet the NBA Finals exacta before the playoffs started because I did pick these as my two finalists. I just so happened to pick the Mavericks to win, and that's not aging very well right now.
No, you disrespected Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. The man literally said he will die on the court.
And then he didn't play. Tanner, you disrespected Jaylen Brown. All year long, I've been seeing YouTube shorts. He can't dribble left. This is the most expensive player in the world for no reason. You've been disrespectful to Jaylen Brown, and he's about to win Finals MVP.
He can't dribble to his left, though. Nothing I said was right. He still can't go to his left. He's making shots, playing good defense. Listen, everyone wants to create this whole controversy around, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They just want to win. They just want a championship. You got all the Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, just a team of grinders, okay? This is a team that Kristaps Porzingis said he will die on the court, Grant.
He didn't play.
That's not his decision. You know what? The trainers and Joe Mazzulla, they got together. They said, hey, these scrub Mavericks who I don't even know how they're here. Like, they have no chance. So, we don't even need Kristaps Porzingis. Go ice up and get ready for the parade. That's what they told him.
By the way, this Porzingis injury, I'm expecting he's not going to play the rest of the series, but I still have no idea what it is. What I read online is that whatever that tendon is called, it's like the seat belt in your foot. It holds everything together. That's all do you know anything about it?
So this is basically Joe Mazzulla made it sound like he died, in his how he said this. Then Kristaps Porzingis out here saying, I'm going to die on the court. But then, you see these videos of him getting extra shots and, walking fine. So I don't know what the vibe is, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's 3-0 right now. He's not playing in the series unless it goes game 7. And then they might try to warm him up. I still don't think he would play, but that's probably the only time you'll see them even consider it.
Al Horford, though, he's come up big in Kristaps Porzingis' time away. He's done his job. I mean, I know he went under his points total last night. I think it was 9.5. He had 8. Game 1, he came out, hit the points total. Game 2, he's been big with rebounds pretty much all series. He's done well.
Yeah, and he had the great contest on Kyrie when he took that 3 at the end of the game. Yeah, it was another good game for Al.
Yeah, really good game for Al. Really good game for the Celtics. Grant, how's it feel to what are you going to do now that Jason Tatum has his first ring and you can't hate on him anymore?
Well, first of all, I've never hated on Jason Tatum, and I've never hated on the Boston Celtics. I've just said they've needed to prove that they're a new team to me in clutch moments.
They proved it.
Weirdly, I still don't think we've seen that situation where they're down 3-4 points against a really quality opponent at the end of the game and had to come back. They've kind of avoided that situation throughout the whole playoffs. But again, you can't criticize them for winning games so much that they don't have to come from behind. So huge credit to Tatum and the Celtics. They're about to be NBA champions and they deserve it.
Yeah. So before we get into it, I want to talk about Ride the Line. You guys need to subscribe to Ride the Line. You need to Ride the Line. You need to do everything to get this page to the moon so you continue getting great content every Monday and Thursday and also shorts throughout the week. Also, check out WSN.com. All that's linked in the description below. We got thousands and $1,000 in promos that you can get down on WSN. Also, a lot of great content there as well. Grant, I want to start with one thing. We're kind of going to go in reverse order of the game last night. I want to start with the end. I want to start when the Mavericks were making their run. And I was feeling like this was the old Celtics, as you've talked about, where they slow down, they kind of go in that hole, and they can't find a way out of it when teams are making their run late in the game, which was happening. But they found a way to get it done. And I think that shows the growth of this team from the last time they were in the finals, from last year in the Heat series to now where they've gotten to. I think it's a testament of not only Joe Mazzulla, but this team growing up.
I agree with you, but just, I guess, to go back to our Tatum opening gambit a little bit, it wasn't Tatum who was getting it done down the stretch. Whenever Tatum was taken those shots because, like you said, this is what I've been complaining about. I've not been unfair to the Celtics. I'm not a Celtics hater. I have been consistent in what I've said, which is I need to see them in the clutch moments in the fourth quarter because from everything I've seen, they just slow down. They have no tempo to their offense. They take stupid shots. Tatum was still doing that in the fourth quarter. It was all of these fall away threes. Pretty much all of them missed. I had no concerns, but it was actually some of the new additions. Derek White hitting the big threes at the end of the game. Drew Holiday grabbing some rebounds, pushing the pace in transition. And then Jaylen Brown, again, the surprise of the series. Maybe not surprise, but the overachiever of the series, hitting that big shot right at the end of the game. It was more about them than it was the star player in Tatum. But Tanner, honestly, again, not taking anything away from the Celtics, but I think this was a Mavericks collapse. And I think there were a couple of key moments that you can point to. And one of those was Jason Kidd calling a timeout. You're on a 20-2 run and you call a timeout after you've gotten the rebound and you're getting out in transition. I understand coaches will call timeouts if both teams have missed 4 or 5 shots in the row. They would say, okay, let's settle down. Let's get some good offense. You don't want to take your foot off the neck of Boston because they're up 21 after 3 quarters. They think they've won the finals already. You're on a 20-2 run. You just let that go. You let it go until Boston proves that they can stop you or they can score some points. Jason Kidd calls that timeout. They don't get points. And then it allows Boston to come down and make a 3 on the other end. So I thought that was a huge mistake. Obviously, the biggest mistake of the entire game was Luka attempting to draw a charge with 5 fouls in the final 4 minutes of a 3-point game. I don't care if you're the best defender in the world. You don't put the decision in the referee's hands like that, okay? You slide, you try to stay in front of Jaylen Brown, and worst comes to worst, you let him get by you because, again, you were on like a 20-2 run or whatever it was. Boston is not proven they can score. Just let him by. And then the final big mistake that I saw was Kyrie Irving. There's 4 points. It's a 4-point differential. You've got the ball with 35 seconds left. You choke your last possession, but Al Horford goes out of bounds. It's 35 seconds left. If Luka or Jokic or LeBron, one of these super high IQ guys gets the ball in that situation, they're going 2 for 1. What Kyrie did was he held onto the ball, he ran it down, and then he ended up taking a super tough fall-away 3 with 20 seconds left. And even if he makes it, it doesn't matter because Boston's probably going to go down the other end and make both free throws. You took away your chance to win the game in regulation there. At best, you were playing for overtime. So I think it was those 3 key moments that really decided the game down the stretch.
I agree with that. I think so. Just going back to your first take here, when it was, the role players making big plays, Derek White coming up big. Drew Holiday also did something stupid. He shot the ball 14 seconds, had that 3 on late in the game too, where he could have ran the shot clock down a little bit. But Jaylen Brown, number one, I think we need to get rid of this narrative that he is not supposed to be the guy. I think the media has created the narrative that Jaylen Brown is secondary to Jason Tatum. Like Jaylen Brown's highest paid player on the team. Highest paid player in the league, right? So when you look at it, like based on money, Jaylen Brown should be making these plays down the stretch. It shouldn't be a surprise that he's winning finals MVP, in my opinion. I mean, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both fantastic. I think Jason Tatum is, he's just been the golden boy of Boston. But Jaylen Brown, it could be because of their attitude a little bit. Jaylen Brown's a little more quiet. Jason Tatum's a little more outspoken, a little more on the social, you don't know why. Now going to your next point where Jason Kidd called the timeout, I think that was a mistake on his part. Also from his perspective, I think he thought his players were gassed. I think that may be why he did it. So that, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I think you got to keep going until Boston can counter it. But Luka's tired. He can barely walk. I looked at him walking into the arena last night. He's super stiff. He's playing through injuries. He's not getting the job done on the defensive side of the floor. And the Boston Celtics are attacking him like crazy. And that's kind of ultimately been the reason I think Boston's been so successful, is because of their ability to attack Luka and get him into foul trouble and kind of take him out of his element. Kyrie, I know he made the mistake down the stretch there. They wouldn't have been in the game without Kyrie last night. So it's like, I just think overall we're looking at from a microscope, like big picture, this Celtics team is much better than the Dallas Mavericks.
They definitely are. But Dallas has had chances to win all three of these games. Again, going back to game one, even though they were down 31 or whatever it was, they had it to an 8-point game in the third quarter. They have the ball and then they just miss shots. Kyrie dribbles off his foot. Derek Lively fouls 3 times in a row, and Boston brings the lead back up to 17, and that game's over. Okay, you've got to nip and tuck going down the stretch in game two. And then it's just Boston who's able to close it out at the end. Again, some more stupid plays from Dallas. And from here, in this one, a 4-point game right at the end of the game after you were down 21 at the end of the third quarter, Dallas has been right there. And it's so funny because we said if Dallas can keep it close, they will win these games. If we have 4 close games down the stretch, Dallas is going to sweep. And the opposite has happened. It's again, I don't want to go over the top with the praise for Boston and specifically Tatum, because again, he's not hitting these clutch shots. He's not going shot for shot with these guys. It's just that their defense combined with Dallas's ineptitude on offense has been enough for Boston to take the lead, whereas we thought it favored Dallas in that sort of scenario.
But Jason Tatum has done everything it takes, like team basketball wise. Like he has played the epitome of team basketball when it comes to the defensive side of the floor, when it comes to getting the assists and the rebounds and getting after it. That's something you're not seeing out of the Dallas Mavericks. You're seeing the Celtics use their star power and say, hey, whoever's night it is, go for it. If it's Jaylen Brown's night, there's been times where in game one and with KP's night, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum's like, hey, you go take that shot. I'm good. Like, you take the ball. Because that's just what this team is. They want to win as a team. It's the first time I think we've really seen this, where Jason Tatum's saying, hey, the pressure's not on me right now. I'm going to do my part for the team. But if somebody else is hot right now, they're going to take the shot. And I think that's the biggest difference too. And also with the Mavericks, you can't fall down by 20 points at the end of the third quarter. You can't expect, if you go down 20, I know they've been really successful making runs. They've done it throughout the entire playoffs. Like, they've been able to overcome 20-point deficits pretty consistently, or at least make them close in these games. You still can't go down against the Boston Celtics when you're at home at the end of the third quarter and just let the wheels fall off. It just simply can't happen.
No, and I agree with you about Tatum. I said on the last episode after game 2 that Tatum still played well in the series, even though he'd been shooting the ball at a historically poor rate. I still stand by that. If I'm doing my finals MVP ladder, I've got him second. I got Jaylen Brown number 1. I got Tatum 2. And I think you can go back and forth with Derek White or Drew Holiday. I've personally got Derek White, but I know that more people have Drew Holiday. But the point is, Tatum has still played well in this series. And even when his shot hasn't been falling, his relentlessness in attacking the basket has forced the Dallas defense to get in rotation. And that's led to a lot of opportunities where either he's got mismatches at the rim, or Boston's getting offensive rebounds, or he's got open passes to the corner because nobody's guarding the shooters on the three-point line. Tatum still played well. And to what you said, Tatum has, I don't know if selfish is the right word, but I think in some ways it is. He's just taken a lot of really stupid shots in his career. We've actually said before, it looks like Jason Tatum plays as if he gets more points if the shot is more difficult. It's like he's trying to fill up his NBA Street game breaker meter. He's trying to get more style points. Because he's not doing that anymore and he's allowing his teammates to shine, this is the result. And, looking back, could past Boston teams have won series if he played like this? I would still say no, because I think they needed those huge Tatum nights. But it's just the fact that the team is playing so well right now. Jaylen Brown, this is the best basketball he's played in his career. And Joe Mazzulla is still coaching a masterclass. If finals MVP included coaches, I think Joe Mazzulla is the finals MVP here. So this is just a coming together, a perfect storm, and the Celtics have taken full advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mazzulla has done an excellent job. And Jason Tatum, too, even last night, like responding with how he scored, 11 of 26 from the field. He was 4 of 13 from 3, but that's what Joe Mazzulla wants. He wants these guys taking three-pointers, because in the end of the day, if you take more threes than the other team, chances are you're going to make more and you're going to win games. So that's kind of been what Jason Tatum's done throughout this entire series. I mean, took 13 last night. He was 7 before. But Jason Tatum's played great team basketball. Jaylen Brown, I just want to get back to the point where it shouldn't be a surprise that Jaylen Brown is going out and making plays. When he makes as much money as he makes, there is a reason he is going out to make these plays. I know he can't dribble to his left, but he's still been fantastic, and he should be fantastic because he is the highest paid player.
Well, so I don't think it's a surprise that he's having these highs. I think the surprise is how consistent he's been, because we've never seen that throughout his career. It's just not been something that he's been great with. And he's not an amazing shooter to begin with. In the regular season this year, he shot 35% from three. He had some higher percentage years earlier in his career, but that was on much lower volume. And so, it's just, again, it's the fact that he's doing it every single night. That's not to create the divide between them, but that's what Tatum has been in the past. Tatum has been the guy that, okay, I've got Brown some nights, but on the nights I don't, it's okay. I'll win us the game. In these playoffs, it's Jaylen who's been the most consistent. Like I'm looking at his numbers right here. In the finals, 24 points, 55% from the field. In the conference finals, 30 points, 52% from the field. In the first round, 24 points, 60% from the field. Sorry, in the second round. And then the first round was 23 points, 52% from the field. Again, it's just consistent, efficient shooting nights. He is the best player in the league on offense, on transition. And he's also giving you elite defense. I know Drew Holiday is getting all of the praise right now. Jaylen Brown has been sensational. I had him on my all NBA defensive team. And boy, he's been awesome in every aspect of this series so far.
Yeah, and speaking of people who have not been awesome, Luka Doncic. Great, you want to go off on Luka, but basically Brian Windhorst came out after the game last night and said the reason the Mavericks are losing is because of Luka. And I know you talked a little bit about the mistake he made trying to draw the charge late in the fourth quarter yesterday with 5 fouls. But is there any other reason you think Luka is blowing the series for the Mavericks? Because without Luka, they would not be in this game from an offensive perspective, especially with how Kyrie has played up until last night.
And this is why coaching becomes so difficult, because you have to figure out how to walk the line of, first of all, like one of the reasons the Patriots were so great for so long was because Bill Belichick treated Tom Brady like he might cut him the next day if they got into an argument. You know what I mean? He was always yelling at him. He was abrasive to a certain extent. And because Brady was willing to accept that, set the tone for the rest of the locker room. And now everybody's, walking on eggshells, essentially. This is part of coaching, because you have to figure out what you can say to Luka Doncic, and the entitlement that he has every time there's a call he doesn't like to look at his bench and say, you better challenge that. And according to Windhorst, after he fouled out, he looked at Jason Kidd and said, you better effing challenge that. That's entitlement. That's not competitiveness. That's entitlement for you to make a stupid play. Again, put the decision in the referee's hands in the crucial moments of the game and of the series. Game 3, down 0-2. This is a best of one series. Whichever team, if the Celtics win that game, the series is over. You can just throw in the towel. So entitlement from Luka there. And then also just, he needs to be more mature in so many ways. And I don't know if I tweeted this before Windhorst went on his rant. I know that I tweeted it well before I saw it. I only saw the rant this morning, and I tweeted this last night. But his immaturity is really costing the Mavericks here. And again, it goes back to what I'm saying, this fine line of coaching. What do you accept from your star player when he's literally carrying your team, but he is also the reason you're losing these games? Because as good as he was in those first 2 games, he was sensational on offense. His defense was some of the worst that I've ever seen in competitive basketball. I'm not talking about, game 70 of the regular season against the Detroit Pistons. In a crucial moment where you're on the road against a bitter rival, the best team during the regular season, you have the games close. For him to be as lackadaisical and unengaged as he was on defense shows that he didn't care. And I think he wants to win those finals, but I think it's one of those situations where he doesn't realize how badly he wants to win the finals until he actually goes out there and does it. And for him to be playing this level of defense, the defense is awful. Every time the Celtics hunt him and they get a mismatch, they're able to get by him, create good offense. For him to consistently pick up these ticky-tack fouls. I think he had 3 fouls in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. And at a certain point, again, you're the best player on your team. You're the best player on the court. Jason Tatum has been good. He's not been great. You are the best player, the guy who can take this game over. And for you to just allow yourself to foul out. Every time there's a foul call you don't like, you're looking at the refs and bitching. You're falling down. You're staying on the ground. Now it's a 5-on-4 going in the other way. He has cost his team so many points throughout this series, and he needs to come back and be a more mature person if he wants to ever win an NBA Finals. Because if he shows up like this with this mental attitude, he will never win a ring.
Yeah, well, it's really hard because you need to play defense to win a ring, for sure. And when you're looking at what he's done in the series, it's a hard situation, too, from the coaching perspective of Jason Kidd saying, okay, well, without Luka, and Luka knows this, everyone knows this, we would not be in these games at all. Like, but we're also losing games because of Luka on defense. Not solely because of Luka, but a big chunk. He hasn't played good defense, and the Celtics have really taken advantage of it. Luka's got to come out and say, I just think it comes down to maturity. Like, I've listened to Jason Tatum, it's a totally different situation. Like, Jason Tatum has never looked like this in the NBA Finals, even when he's not missing his shots. Jason Tatum complains. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it's not to this degree of Luka. Like, Jason Tatum came out this year and said, I realized that last season against the Heat that you don't get to this point every single season. Like, it's very hard to get to this point. And I don't think Luka has necessarily realized that yet. Or maybe this is the series that wakes him up if he doesn't get back next year and he says, hey, I need to work harder to get to that point. I think that goes a long way. And you look at what Jason Tatum's doing. He's not trying to go out and steal the show, and he's not putting the pressure on him. He just wants to win. So Luka, it might take losing in the NBA Finals. And Brian Windhorst came out and said that. He was like, if he learns from this, he'll be back, but he's got to learn from this. Bottom line, though, the Mavericks just aren't built to beat the Celtics. They're not. The Celtics are beat to win championships. They are so much better in every area of the game. I know they have the top two players, but when Luka doesn't deliver on defense and Kyrie doesn't deliver on offense, you can't beat the Celtics.
And so, what I thought was especially interesting? So there's nobody out there who will reasonably argue that Boston definitively has one of the two best six-man rotations with Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, White, Holiday, and Horford. That's your six-man. It's either them or Denver. People are going to say it's the best six-man rotation. And in Denver's case, it's really just the starting five. You don't look to the bench for too much. But it's the rest of the players on Boston that were supposed to be the concern. Peyton Pritchard, maybe you have a little bit of trust in him, but the Sam Hausers, obviously with Porzingis' injury, Xavier Tillman got some tick in this game. Those are the guys you were supposed to be concerned with. Look at the plus minuses for this game. According to plus minus, Tatum was the worst player on the Celtics. He had a -4. That was the lowest of the whole team. Not saying he was the low or the worst. And this is part of the problem with plus minus. But again, he was outscored the most. You got a plus 16 from Sam Hauser in 14 minutes. And then you got a plus 9 from Xavier Tillman in 11 minutes. They came out and they stepped up. And on the other side, Dallas, I guess, kind of going back to what you were saying about the team of the Mavericks not being ready to compete with the team of the Celtics. Tim Hardaway Jr. was the third leading scorer for Dallas during the regular season. He worked his way out of the rotation. I actually did campaign for him to play in this game, and so maybe I deserve a little bit of blame for that as well. But in 19 minutes, he was a -16. Maxi Kleba in 8 minutes was a -13. Just a whole bunch of minuses with these guys coming off the bench. And again, you look at the starting lineup, aside from Gafford, they were all pretty close to even or positive. Luka's +9, Kyrie's -3, PJ Washington's an even 0. If they have any sort of support from the collective, then once again, they find themselves in a situation where they could have won this game.
But their collective is not better than the Celtics collective. Like, that's what it comes down to. You got Sam Hauser coming in there, making shots, playing great defense. Peyton Pritchard. These are guys that are just grinders. Like, that's what they are. They just work hard. I mean, Tillman last night, he played as well as he could, right? And that's a guy that hasn't played in a while. And he just comes in and does that. But it's because when they go on the floor, like when Kleba comes into the game, like, he is expected to make shots. Like, he's going to get open looks. I'm not saying Sam Hauser isn't expected to make shots or Peyton Pritchard, but there's a lot of other stars on the floor that they can distribute the ball to, right? Where when they come on the floor for the Mavericks, like, if it's not Kyrie and Luka, and if they're not both playing to the highest point, who is the guy that you're going to rely on?
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I guess just to circle back to where we started with the whole Luka thing, again, Luka's been great on offense. I know he didn't shoot the three well. I don't care. He's still creating a ton of good offense for his team, but he's got to grow up. He really does. I don't know if I should be looking at Jason Kidd because, again, how figuring out how you coach your star player when he's the best player on your team, he's the reason where you are, but he also needs to be better. I don't know if Kidd has allowed it. I don't know if Luka, the people around him, have just been complacent in it. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure you've seen it where he goes up for a layup, whether he misses it or makes it, he falls down and he just sits there for like 3, 4, 5 seconds, lets players run down the other side of the court. And by the time he's getting to half court, the possession is already finished. It's already a 5-on-4. Boston's already gotten some sort of open shot. Like, I felt bad for him to a certain extent after the first 2 games because he was being asked to do everything. And I said, you know what? I can live with the horrible defense if nobody else on offense is doing anything and it's just him out there. But in a game like this, it was just unacceptable. The effort level, mentally and physically, it was just terrible.
It's unacceptable no matter what. This is the NBA Finals. This is the mecca of the NBA season. You have a chance to win your first ring, and you're giving that effort on defense. That's what it comes down to. One team here wants to win. One team here doesn't want to win. It's as simple as that. And I know the Celtics are the much better team. So, like, we need to classify this. It's no shame losing to an opponent who's better than you, and the Celtics are better, especially playing to the level they're playing now. But when you're given that effort, it's disrespectful to yourself. It's disrespectful to your team and the fans. And that's the biggest issue here.
I agree with that. And also, one last thing here. The Dallas Mavericks are not a good enough team to count on being back in the finals anytime soon. No. This is a huge blown opportunity. If they're going to make it back to the finals next year, it's going to be the same form. I mean, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but you can't depend on PJ Washington becoming the best 3-point shooter in the playoffs during the first 2 rounds. It's not something you can depend on. It's if there's one thing for you to depend on, it's Luka and Kyrie just putting on master classes every game. And at a certain point, that doesn't become a reliable formula. We have seen it in these finals because Kyrie disappeared in those first 2 games. And then because Luka fouled out of game 3. You know, if they were at their best, could they be up 3-0? Sure. But they're not going to be at their best for 48 minutes every single game. And they're now down 0-3. So you look ahead to next year, Minnesota might be better. Denver's still going to be right there. I mean, some of the other top teams like Phoenix and the Lakers, I don't have too much confidence in, but there's still going to be a lot of really good teams out there fighting you for this spot. You were an underdog to even get here in the first place. There's no reason you should be expected to get back to the finals next year. And then, you know, Kyrie's going to be a free agent. Is he back with the team? What's going to happen with Gafford and Lively? If you keep Lively in a few years, you're going to have to pay him. And then PJ Washington's going to want a new deal. Your team might look totally different in 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the other side, this is the beginning of the greatest dynasty in NBA history for the Boston Celtics. I think this could match the Bulls, Grant. This team could match the Bulls.
No shot.
They're going to win another one. Here we go.
Celtics here. I need to see what Derek White's contract is. I don't know when he is due for a new contract. Let me see here. Okay. Well, I just saw the headline that he's due for okay. So he's under contract for next season. It looks like he's trying to get an extension this summer. I know you've got Tatum's going to be up for one soon. Brown just got his. You just gave Drew Holiday his. So Al Horford, I wouldn't be surprised if Al Horford retires after these finals. He's 38 years old.
Wow.
You know, 100%. Yeah, he's been waiting for this ring. I just don't see him coming back after he's played 18, 19 years, whatever it was, and he finally got his ring. So I think Horford's going to be gone. And then, you know, Porzingis injury concerns. I don't think he stays around more than another year or so. So no, I don't, unless you're saying just the Brown Tatum pairing is the dynasty and everything else around them is going to change. I guess that's possible. I don't see them winning multiple titles with this core, maybe one more, but I don't think it's a dynasty.
I mean, next year, looking at the odds, they're favored to get back, right? 2020. Yeah, they're plus 300 to win the finals already next year. Nuggets plus 850.
Well, I mean, the champion is always the favorite going into next year.
Gap, though. That's an unprecedented gap between 1 and 2, even as the champion, you know?
Well, I think the way Denver bowed out leaves a lot of questions for people. If right now, granted, a lot of things are going to change. So this is not futures betting advice. Right now, I would expect Denver to be back in the finals, though. I don't think they're as bad of a team as they were in that Timberwolves series.
No, they dropped the ball 100% because Minnesota wasn't as good as they showed. Like Minnesota played up. It was a team that wanted to win versus a team that didn't want to win. And I think that was the biggest difference there. But yeah, I think it's the beginning of the Bulls, Grant. Just wait. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they're coexisting. They're going to win another one. It's coming.
I guess before we get out of here, one other question there. Can Milwaukee or Philadelphia, can they make important offseason moves to match them? Because if you go star player for star player, Giannis is better than Tatum, Embiid is better than Tatum. Embiid in the playoffs, that's a whole different thing, but he's got the talent at least to play him to a wash, let's say. But again, you know, the whole reason the Celtics are winning the finals is because of how strong their team is. What front office is going to step up. You know, maybe it's Miami. Maybe they go out there and they get a star player and they can build around him. Maybe Philadelphia, you know, Daryl Morey is going to be aggressive. Maybe he puts the right guys around him. Maybe Milwaukee trades Dame after one season and they're able to get some good players around him. Whatever it is, it's up to the front offices more than anything to challenge Boston in the East.
Credit to Boston's front office. Credit to everyone there, because they have taken a star-driven league where all these teams are built around 1 to 2, 3 players, and they've made it into a team with the star players, which is something nobody else has really been able to do. I mean, you can maybe make the case for Denver, right? But a lot of these teams are star-driven, and then the rest, like look at the Mavericks. It's star-driven, and the rest of the guys just aren't up to the level yet. We're Boston, they are.
Well, I don't think there's a comparison for Boston. You know, you said you can look in Denver. Denver only has one all-star. That's Nikola Jokic. Porzingis has made an all-star team. Tatum's made an all-star team. Brown's made an all-star team. Drew Holiday's made an all-star team. Al Horford is at a different stage of his career, but he's made an all-star team. There's no comparison. Like, these are legitimately, I think the only non-star in their starting lineup is probably Derek White, but he's by far and away the best role player in the whole league. And he almost made the all-star team this year. Like, there's no other team out there that's like that.
Derek White, if he does leave Boston and he goes into a market where he's not the guy, but he's going to be one of the more featured players, like, he's probably going to make an all-star team. He's that talented.
If he stays in the East, I could see it. In the West, I think it's too crowded. Could he give you 20 points a game as the second option on a team? He might be able to.
Yeah, you never know. Like, you look at Jaylen Brunson, right? I'm not comparing Derek White to Jaylen Brunson. But Jaylen Brunson came in the league with the Dallas Mavericks. He wasn't looked at as anything. He was a bench player, comes into the starting role. Even with the Mavericks in his final season, I mean, did we think he was going to go to New York and light the world on fire and be the 1A player there? I would have said probably not, like the way he's done with New York. So you just never know what happens when these guys get into situations where they can really shine.
I mean, Derek White's he's followed a similar sort of trajectory. He averaged 15 points when he was San Antonio, which is exactly what he averaged this year. So it's not quite the same as Jaylen Brunson, who averaged like 10 or whatever it was, and then went to averaging 28. But nobody looked at Derek White as somebody that, you know, could be, again, a borderline star, really, except for Greg Popovich, funny enough. He said that he really did not want to let Derek White go. It was one of the biggest mistakes that he could have made. And Derek White had spoken about how Popovich always told him that he could be an all-star. So, I mean, I guess you've seen that explosion already from Derek White, and he's 29 years old, going to be 30. Let's see here, going to be 30 in 3 weeks. So I don't think the Jaylen Brunson leap is coming. But again, I think he could give you 20 points per game as a second option.
Yeah. All right, Grant, final question on the show. Last one. Celtics in 4, Celtics in 5.
So I was going to ask you this question. I think those are the two options. I don't think Dallas is winning more than one game in the series. Most of the time, it's always smart to go with the team down 3-0. I'm not going to bet this game, but I am going to pick the Celtics to sweep. I don't see the Mavs winning a game.
I don't see them winning a game. I think they're toast. Mentally, how they came off that last game, you got Luka fouling out, you got the big run that you can't finish, you got Kyrie, who, you know, played really well on offense. First 2 games, though, wasn't there. You got Luka just not playing good defense, and, you know, why? Like, there's just so many reasons. Boston is so focused on the mission at hand right now, and I can't see this game series going 5. If it does, they'll finish it at home in game 5, no doubt about it.
Did you see what Jason Tatum said about how Joe Mazzulla taught them to be calm?
No. What do you make him do? Joe Mazzulla's a menace. Dude's freaking out.
He has them watch videos of UFC fighters getting choked out and then basically fighting out of it. And he said this is how he teaches us to be calm in moments of extreme stress.
I gotta do a video on that. That's awesome. That's just Mazzulla, though. Like, he's a psychopath. Legitimate.
And they asked him, I don't remember if it was Jaylen Brown or Tatum. It was somebody, and they said, "Hey, Joe, is this the best that you've ever seen them play?" He said, "Well, in America, it's not about your best. It's about what you're doing right now." He truly is. His brain is just different. Because he thinks of things so quickly, and they're just so different that it can't be an act. That's just who he is.
No, he's not putting the act on. I think he's a little socially awkward. I think his brain is like talking to the media, he seems like he's socially awkward. He doesn't really smile. Like, he's just kind of just flatline all the time.
But I tell you what, though, the Celtics obviously respect him and they listen to him because this game plan that he's put out there has led to the best Celtics performances of the series. And again, you think about it, he made a total fool of himself in the last playoffs, and then I think he's been the best coach in these playoffs. So I mean, Joe Mazzulla, hats off, he's been awesome.
Yep, hats off Joe Mazzulla, hats off to the Celtics. Let's finish it on Friday. If we got to finish it Monday, we can finish it Monday at home. That's fine too. But let's finish it on Friday. Let's go get the ring. Let's start the Bulls dynasty. And let's get out of here. Grant, you take us out of here today.
Before I do take us out, guys, make sure that you have hit the like button if you did enjoy this episode. Drop some comments. Let us know if Dallas has a chance to win a game. If for some reason you think they're going to become the first team ever to pull a 3-0 comeback, hop in the comment section. Let us know. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and we will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.